Back to Marty. You've said that this is learning to hear God's voice. It's not something like just for like real mystical people. They just kind of have it, and who knows how they got it. But it's something that you can learn to do. And one of the ways that you feel like the Lord is speaking to you about learning that has been to follow hobby around a little bit. So just say a word about that.
Yeah, I had never had my own house church before the Lord kind of called me to start planting house churches. And one of the days a couple of weeks ago that I met with Hobby just to kind of ask him some leadership questions and hear his story again. And I'm a little bit thick, so it takes me a while, sometimes several times, to really hear something and learn it. And so as I was sitting there listening to the way that Hobby spoke about meeting with his different house church leaders and even just friends, and even what happens at the house church, almost every one of them was the same, where we check in with each other with our emotions and our heart. We listen to each other at the heart level, and then we listen to the Lord about whatever the Lord wants to speak about. And so I just wanted to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
I was tired of seeing them. I love the blog, I like reading about it, but I want to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
And I felt like the Lord literally told me, you're supposed to shadow Hobby for a few weeks and just be around him as much as you can and learn how it is that he engages with me, with others, and just learn from him. And so I asked him if I could, and he said yes.
So Hobby, when Marty kind of came to you and said, "I'd like to do this," what were you thinking? What's going through your head at that point?
Well, I'm really excited about what the Lord is doing in terms of speaking to me. I think of Marty as a peer that I'm walking with. We're one in this mission here in Denver in terms of planting churches. So I don't necessarily think that I'm that much further down the road than him or anything like that. We're just walking along together. So I was excited just to get to kind of partner together, kind of live out what I do, kind of do a little bit of modeling, but at the same time, it's not just that he's shadowing me, he's a fly on the wall. We're kind of walking together and learning from each other in the process. So that's kind of what I was excited about, and the perspective I've been taking. And so far, it's like iron sharpening iron.
Yeah, fantastic. Anything else you guys want to say on this topic of learning to hear God's voices?
Let me talk about some of the things that have been important to me.
Yeah.
I think early on, God had to show up and persuade me that He's present, and that was a really important part of it. And
Because you weren't always persuaded of this kind of way of approaching things either.
No, this was really tough for me. I had to feel like I had to have some permission. So one thing, John became a regular voice saying, "What's the Lord saying to you about that?" I needed that over and over and over again to retrain my instinct a little bit. That I am going to listen. I'm going to ask the Lord and see if He says anything. Also, I had to find grace in the process of learning that if I'm listening to God and I make a mistake thinking, oh, that's me or that's God or something like that, if I'm listening and trying it, it is something that it's learned. It's not just automatic. And so I had to have some grace, knowing that God's not going to strike me down if I make a mistake saying, I think God said this to me.
Yeah.
But what has happened is that God had to persuade me, and I found fruit in saying, well, I'm going to do the thing that I think the Lord is saying to me and see what happens. And I'm amazed over and over again. And even though I've seen all that, where I am now, there are times where I go into my listening time and I still think, is God really there? Is He going to say anything? So there's still a tension of faith. But it's
We're
really
still in
special.
process, all of us, aren't we, on that?
One last thing that I would mention is having a community of people to function with is really important.
Yeah.
Having John providing leadership, having you providing leadership for me has been really important. And then having peers with Desi and Marty and others to walk with, where we're walking alongside of each other, we're holding each other up, giving each other accountability. There are times where I'm strong and others are weak. There are times when I'm weak and they're strong. So that's really important, having other people walking together.